The Panzerbüchse 39 has come to Battlefield 5, and essentially, for those that don't know, it's a boys AT rifle for the Axis side. Is it what we needed in Battlefield? How good is the weapon to use, and is it something you should rush to unlock and level up? Well, in this video I'm going to go through pretty much all of those points and then look at what the community think of this new weapon. We've gone a long time without new content in Battlefield, but the recent patch has brought with it some fun content in terms of grind and fortress, two modes that we've seen before, but they are very fun, and then of course a new weapon and some bug fixes. DICE need to start bringing more patches like this to the game, because I'm afraid that we'll get bored of this fairly quickly, and especially with them taking things like grind away again, they're going to have to keep injecting new things into the game to keep the player numbers up. Anyway, on to the new weapon, the Panzerbüchse 39. It's also known as the PZB-39, and that's what I'll refer to it from now on, because it's not exactly a word that I can pronounce very well. So for those Germans out there, I'll try and keep it simple and refer to it as the PZB or PZB-39. Now, from an historical point of view, it was a German anti-tank rifle used during the Second World War, and it was effective at the start, but throughout the war it became less effective due to the technological improvements that much of the armour saw in the war. German anti-tank rifles originated back in 1917 with the Tankgewehr, a weapon that we used in Battlefield 1, and I believe it belonged to one of the elite classes. This thing was incredibly strong and would also one-hit infantry, which is something that the Boys AT rifle and the PZB-39 have in common. To unlock this weapon, you have just under a week. It'll take about 1 to 2 hours and requires you to work alongside a squad on some of the new modes in order to unlock some of the nodes that you'll see on that weekly assignment. It's really not that difficult, but again, time consuming, and some might argue that it's something we should just be given and then have assignments attached to it afterwards if you want to unlock certain skins or gain company coin. One of the options is resupply teammates for 5,000 points, which is fairly ridiculous. If you've actually tried to do that, it will take you a long time. I'm nowhere near doing it, and apparently it also doesn't appear to count the passive regen you get from the ammo boxes, so if you want to complete it, I'd suggest taking the pouches and spamming them about to your teammates. A mode like Grand Operations, Breakthrough, maybe you could be on Fortress or Grind, where you've got a high density of players, is what you want to be doing. That's how you can get that one ticked off. There are easier ways to unlock it though, and as I said, around an hour will sort you out if you're in a squad of competent players. Now here's the thing with the PZB-39 and the Boys AT rifle, in fact. You have to bipod in order to ADS, and this means that it is promoting a certain playstyle. A playstyle that I'm not happy about, and neither are many other people, but there are of course many sides to this argument, so it's not just a cut and dry case. You can one-hit infantry to the body and damage armour. However, it will only do a 95 hit if you hit the enemy in the arm or the leg, which is fair enough because it encourages some sort of accuracy, even if it's only body shots and not headshots. It's slightly different from the Boys AT rifle with a slower rate of fire, but overall the people that use this probably won't care that much because it's a weapon designed for camping, and you can also pick the Boys AT rifle if you don't really like that slower rate of fire. So as you can see from the gameplay in the background, I'm not really at home using a weapon like this. I don't enjoy camping, I don't enjoy going prone and sitting on the edge of the battlefield or finding these off angles to one-bang people with an AT rifle. It's just not what I enjoy, and I've never enjoyed that sort of playstyle in Battlefield. I think a lot of the community agree with me here. I did a bit of searching and there isn't massive uproar about it, but no one really seems to care, whilst there are other weapons that DICE could really bring in from the Second World War that many people would get more excited about. What does the community think of this AT rifle though? I've included a few comments taken from recent videos that have looked at the new PZB-39. One's from Max Zeke's channel and the other's from Level Caps, I believe. There aren't many people who've actually looked at this weapon in any detail since it was released on the main game. Some looked at it in the early access part of Gamescom, but this is a better interpretation of what the community think, I believe, because they've played against it and they've maybe unlocked it themselves. The opinions are mostly mixed, with many disagreeing with the playstyle DICE are trying to promote with a weapon like this. In a game with loads of random ways to die, and in fact more frustrating ways to die than any previous Battlefield game to date, in my opinion, having another outbreak of one-hit bipod rifles is not exactly what the game needed right now. My question is this: why did DICE introduce it? There are plenty of other interesting weapons that promote the right sort of gameplay, and DICE are more than capable of bringing them to the game, and I'm sure we'll see many of them with the next major update. One of the major issues in BF5 right now though is that camping meta, and whether you enjoy sitting behind a sandbag and gunning people down with your bipod MMG or not, it doesn't change the facts. Camping is incredibly effective in BF5 due to a whole host of reasons, and from my perspective at least, it's completely unnecessary. Sure, you should be able to bipod in games. If that's what the game has, a bipod mechanic or going prone, fine. Fortifications, where you want to shoot from behind cover, that's fine. But just having another weapon that promotes that sort of playstyle, I don't know. It's something that I really think the game could do without. In my personal opinion, I think the anti-tank rifles in the game should be battle pickups, like we saw in Battlefield 4 with the 50 cal sniper, the USAS and grenade launcher. We also saw this, as I mentioned before, in BF1 with the Elite having the anti-tank rifle, meaning people would rush to try and get hold of it, so you could be that one-off anti-tank king and you'd just be an absolute beast on the battlefield. But everyone couldn't do it, it was just one person out of 32, which is a lot more fair in my opinion. It could even be more effective than it is now if it was a battle pickup and limited to just a few per map, and it would certainly provide less frustration but keep the fun there. You'd also have the hype of having a new weapon, but clearly DICE aren't interested in that, and they would be more than happy for 32 people to all be running an anti-tank rifle on modes like Grind, where there aren't even any tanks. Let's look at how you can set this weapon up, because if you are going to use it, you're probably going to want to level it to rank 4 and try and get some of the better specializations. Starting at the top, we have slings and swivels, which will allow you to shoot faster after sprinting, or the recoil buffer. Personally, I think the recoil buffer is pretty pointless, so slings and swivels, although you probably won't feel the benefit of that as you're camping on your stomach on the battlefield instead of running and gunning, is probably the better choice. The second choice you have is either muzzle flash reduction or a zeroing ability. For me, I think muzzle flash reduction is by far the better option, because zeroing isn't something you really need in the game unless you're looking for super long range shots, and if that's the case, you're better off with a sniper rifle. The muzzle flash reduction will help you remain concealed from enemies that spot you. Then you are forced to choose the higher rate of fire that increases from 18 to 21. If you were to go for the zeroing ability, you then get access to a 15% reload speed increase. Not very important at all. I think the higher rate of fire benefits you far more. And then finally, you have a choice between armor-piercing rounds or 10% faster bullets. I personally believe it depends what you're doing. If you're on a mode like Grind, 10% faster bullets makes more sense. If you're on a mode like Conquest, armor-piercing round could be better if you're looking to hunt tanks. It's up to you, but I think mainly going full left side or full left side and then 10% faster bullets is the way to go. You can have a 3x scope or a 6x scope. I think the 3x is probably where you want to be, because it gives you a mixture of closer to medium range, but you can also hit someone in the distance. A 6x really does limit you at that medium and closer range engagements, and plus you're going prone a lot of the time as well, so you'll have time to line up that shot. What do you think of this new anti-tank rifle? Is it something that you think the game needed, or would you have preferred it if DICE had chosen something a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more fitting to the sort of gameplay many people want? I was hoping for a new LMG, or maybe a new SMG or AR, something fun that we could use, maybe a new sniper rifle that may introduce a slightly different style of play, or an aggressive P08 carbine style thing for the sniper class. Let me know what you think. Surely DICE have plenty of options. The Second World War was full of weapons, and they're not only being forced to choose boring things like anti-tank rifles, but maybe that's just my opinion, and maybe I need to change my outlook on things like that. Before we finish, there are two things that I want to let you know about that DICE have introduced to the game. A Trello board, which is acting as a one-stop shop for all things Battlefield, is available. I will link it in the description below. Well worth checking out, full of interesting information in terms of bugs, bug fixes, different updates coming to the game and things like that. Also, there is a new mode called Basic Training, which has come to the game, allowing new players who are wanting to learn the basics exactly that. You get tips and tricks and interesting things in there, although straight away someone said there's a load of cosmetics in that mode that we're not going to see in the main part of Battlefield. For example, a medic with crutches on his back and maybe a recon with a radio or something like that. It's a shame that we probably won't see it because it will interfere with the cosmetics that we already have in the game, and maybe it's been ported over from the 5v5 mode that was canned just a few weeks ago, but there we go. Some new stuff to see on there if you're bored. Thanks for watching. Remember to leave your comments down below regarding the Panzerbüchse 39, and I'll catch you in the next video.